Raj wasn't dreaming, though it seemed like it because he couldn't remember getting up. How many times has anyone pinched themselves to check if they are awake? It is a statement, but does anyone really do it? Raj stood at the top of his office building, at the edge, ready to find out. Let's take a step back, turn back the time, to see what had happened. Raj had just entered his office building. It was 5 in the evening. He walked to the reception and stood staring at the pretty girl across. Raj, what happened to you? She sprang up, startled. Raj was bleeding from his forehead. The blood stained his white shirt and his black blazer. The receptionist, Raj's friend, led him to the nearby couch and made him sit. She went back to her desk and dialed the emergency helpline number for the building. It was basically for technical assistance, but she didn't have a better idea. She got through and frantically asked for assistance from whoever it was that took the call. She turned to check on Raj. He wasn't there. On the side, by the wall, she saw the doors of the elevator close. Another step back in time. Raj staggered by the corner of a street that led to his office. He blinked twice because his vision was blurring. He caught hold of a lamppost as his legs gave way. People around tried to help him up. Raj caught one of those arms and tried to look at the time in the watch on that wrist. It was 4:30 p.m. He looked up to the person whose hand he was holding. As their eyes met, he shrieked and backed away. The man wore a dark overcoat with a hat tilted to the right. Raj ran onto the street. A bike raced towards him. He ran into the alley he saw ahead. The bike followed. The biker gained ground even as Raj took a sharp turn in a narrow slum lane. The way couldn't have been more than 7 feet wide, and it was lined on both sides with small huts. The path was actually a long drain, covered all through with uneven stone blocks. Women washed clothes at their doors near the drain. Raj jumped over one. She cursed him. He almost slipped on the soapy water. He tilted his head to try and catch a glimpse behind him. The biker caught on the lane and raced on. The woman shouted and ran in. Raj ran on the 7 feet path to wherever it would take him. The bike was just a few yards behind him, though it was slowed by the uneven, patched and broken lane. Raj saw a water tap set in the side wall on the right. Further ahead was a wire tied between two opposite walls just to hang wet clothes. Raj took a quick decision. He stepped on the top and leapt up. He put his other foot on the opposite wall as he made contact with it and sprang himself again higher up. He managed a foothold on the roof of the house on the right, out of the way of the bike. The biker, distracted by the sudden movement, kept going straight. What the biker didn't see was the wire as it tangled around his neck and got stuck. The bike slid on its rear tire to glide straight, and a vertical flip later crashed on a wall ahead. The biker was still struggling with the wire around his neck when Raj ran back to the office. He took a shortcut. He kept running on the roofs. And another step back in time. The breeze wrapped around a leaf and rolled it over the ground, over the grass, through the iron gates, and landing on a concrete headstone of a grave. It had Raj Khanna embedded deep in it. Raj watched it with eyes unbelieving. It said, born on the 23rd February 1986, died 1st of January 2012. He dropped to his knees, his blood-soaked shirt sticking to his skin. Now do you see? A voice came from behind him. It startled him and he crawled away from it. When he saw he was now sitting on his own grave, he scurried away from there too. The voice belonged to a tall, dark, aging man. He wore a dark overcoat with a tilted hat. No use running, he said, but run if you must. He tapped his watch. The clock's ticking, tick-tock, tick-tock. And just then, in the distance, was the sound of a clock tower. 4 gongs. Raj somehow crawled out of the cemetery and began walking on the road to his office. He wanted to clear his head. Each step was heavier than the last. It was as if his feet had been drilled into the ground. He fell after a few paces. On his knees, he pushed himself up. He couldn't go on. His heart swelled up. Teardrops fell on the ground and he realized he was crying. He sat up and looked at the sky. Flashes of his life went through his mind. His first step, his first words, the first day at school, his graduation, the first time he saw Kashish, the death of his parents, the first time he sat alone at their graves. He let out a loud cry of anguish. There was no one around. He was alone. He bowed and rested his head on the ground and slowly lied down on it, curled up. He saw some men clad in all black circling him. Closing his eyes, he wanted to drift away. Kashish, he whispered to himself. His doll came back to him. He pushed himself again with all the strength he could muster. He got up. The men around were gone, and he ran as fast as he could. A step back to where it all began. Raj lay on a brown latex-coated sofa, unconscious. Someone threw water on his face and he came to. He touched his head. He felt blood. There was a deep gash on his forehead. He sat up and examined it. His shirt was covered with blood. Across from him sat a strange man in a wooden chair behind a wooden desk. A single bulb hung over him from a wire on the ceiling. He wore an overcoat and a tilted hat, which cast a circular shadow on the man's face and hid his eyes. The chair opposite to him was empty. Raj looked up and checked the room. There were 2 other men dressed in black leather. One of them lifted Raj by his arm and pulled him to the empty chair. "Welcome," the man with the hat said, "to my humble abode." Raj sat in the chair. "What the hell is this place? What am I doing here?" "This place is not hell, I can tell you that." The man smiled and leaned on the table. "But it can become that." "What am I doing here?" Raj tried to get up and was pushed back down. "You are here because we have some unfinished business," the man said. "Try to remember, Raj." He gestured his minion to step back. Raj sat there, confused and tired. He was in a strange place full of people he had not seen in his entire life. He had no idea how he got there. "Yes, go on," the man smiled, his teeth glowing in the light. "You are on the right track." Raj kept on thinking, where was he before this? He closed his eyes and tried to think, but he was blank. "Try harder," the man said as he leaned in more. Raj did try. He went back in his memory, and everything around him slowed down. "Yes," the man said as Raj opened his eyes. He could see it clearly now. He was with Kashish. They were in his car, laughing on their way back from their vacation. "No," escaped from Raj's lips as he saw it happen. A truck came over the corner in a sharp turn. He had seen it and switched to the outer lane. But the truck lost control. It couldn't make the turn and it tilted to the side. Their car was on that side. "No!" Raj got up from his chair and stretched out his arm. He had put an arm over Kashish as the truck turned over on their car. He had just managed to pull her on his side as the truck crushed the passenger door. But it didn't stop. The car was lifted on its side tires by the truck's weight. He hit his head on the dashboard and lost his grip on her. The truck slid with the car over the edge, stuck together. Mid-air, he watched her weightless and struck with fear. Their hands stretched out but couldn't touch. The dog tore away the side of their car which was stuck and threw what was left in a spiral above. Raj stared into space, speechless. He watched her fall and then couldn't see her again as the car crashed. "We are in a transition," the man said. "When you are on death's doorstep, you go through this world. You step near the light and choose. Everyone has a purpose in this world, and if they have not reached it until then, they get this choice to either go ahead or turn back." The man removed his hat. "You have to decide to go back and complete it or give up." His eyes were all white. Raj fell back in his chair. "What happened?" "You both lie in a coma at a hospital. When the time came for stepping across the light, you did. You have already completed your life's purpose," the man said. "You mean Raj is already dead? Your body will not come out of the coma. Kashish, on the other hand, hasn't crossed over yet. This can't be happening. This is a dream. This is not possible." "You are right, Raj. This is a dream, but not yours." "What?" "It's Kashish who's dreaming. Kashish is in coma, and she is dreaming her final dream. She stands where she met you first. She couldn't let go of it." The man took out a gun from his overcoat and placed it on the table. "We don't have time. She would wait for you only until sundown. There are 3 bullets in this, and there are 3 of us." Raj stared at the weapon. "Who are you?" "She had created us in her mind, and that's where we stayed all through her life." The man put his hands on the edge of the table. "We are her demons, her baggage, her trauma, and we have haunted her forever. She wanted me to tell you, when I found you, that she loves you and she waits for you." Raj slowly gripped the gun. The man said, "It's simple. You have come back from the dead to save her. We are here to do what we have done always. Sabotage. She has no control over us, but it is her dream, so you get a head start." The man smiled and put his hat back on. "And yeah, I almost forgot. She also said," he lowered his voice to a whisper, "good luck." The man threw the table over the edge on Raj. Raj jumped out of the chair and shot the person on his right in the heart. He ran into another one who stood by the door and shot him in the stomach. Raj pushed his way out of the door, and as it was just closing, he turned. He took one final shot that made a hole in the door. The door slammed inwards, and he got a glimpse. The room was empty. He walked in a daze onto a street. He saw the cemetery where he had buried his parents. Is this a dream? Is it true? Am I in her dream? He thought aloud and looked at the gun which was still in his hand. He pressed the trigger. Click. Empty. He threw the gun aside and entered the cemetery. He walked straight to the spot where his parents lay, their graves side by side, but there was a third grave between them which wasn't there before. And time flew. He ran, he got chased, he reached the office, and he got in the elevator. "Very well," the man in the hat said in the phone and disconnected the call. He turned to Kashish. "Raj is on his way up." Kashish was surrounded by 3 men, 2 in leather and 1 in an overcoat. She had seen them in her dreams repeatedly. The first leather guy appeared at the age of 10 when she was lost in the city for hours. She could never shake him off. He was fear. He always followed her in her dreams. The other guy in leather came when her best friend passed away. He was pain. He always hung around in her dreams whenever she was happy. And the guy in the hat who came the last but ruled the others appeared when Raj's parents died, and she saw Raj break down right in her arms. The guy in the hat was love, and he ruled fear and pain. That was the receptionist. Silly girl thought I was a technician. The man walked over to Kashish and ran his fingers through her hair. Kashish was sitting on her knees. The door on the roof was kicked open. Raj walked out and strode to the center. Kashish did not move until Raj had called out to her. And when she did look, her eyes filled up. She stood up slowly. Raj, you came back. Raj put his hand out front and said, Kashish, come here. I can't, she said, but you came back. I knew you would be back. Raj took a step towards her, and the two men in leather blocked his path. Come here, Kashish. I'm here now. There's nothing to worry about. I can't, she said it again. I cannot live without you. If something happened to you, it would kill me too. And then it all made sense to Raj. This was her dream. He saw his grave. She had trapped herself because somewhere she knew he was dead. And then he remembered. He remembered being pulled out of the wreckage. He could not see it properly, but it seemed to be her. She had pulled him out. It was the last thing he saw. She wasn't hurt then. If she's in a coma now, she had done it to herself out of shock. Kashish, he said as he lowered his arm. It's okay. I know this is hard, but you know, I always love you. I always have. Right from the day I first saw you till now, I have loved you more every day. And I will love you even when I'm not with you. The three men guarding her stepped aside. Raj reached her hand and held it. She didn't cry. She just looked at him. Raj went on. And when you come out of this, he said as he held her face from both sides, you will live with my love. You will live my life too. Don't give up on me now. He kissed her. I'll always be there with you. And he let her go. The guards stayed back. He knew that there was only one way for this dream to end. Only one way for her to face the truth. He was dead, and there was only one way to show it. He went over to the border wall and climbed it. It was a steep drop. He turned to face her. She didn't move. He said, I love you. She said, I will always love you. He said, goodbye. Tears streamed down her face. The three guards disappeared. There was no one around but them. She said, goodbye. He stepped back and dropped in a free fall.